this is where the story comes full circle.
You got a voice double.
I get traded from the Hartford Whalers, where I was playing in Binghamton, to the New Jersey Devils. I got to drive an hour and a half or whatever it is from Binghamton to Utica. Okay. So Tom McVie, who's not a big man, right? And he says, you're going to meet me at this Italian restaurant and we're going to have lunch. I pull into the restaurant and there's this guy sitting all nice in a suit. And I go over and I'm like, Tom, he's like, how you doing, kid? Right? And I'm like, no, boys.
That's you.
No, boys. Right? That was that. Well, anyways, make a long story short, we sat and I'll never forget, I ordered this big chicken parmesan. I mean, the garlic bread, all this stuff, right? And Tommy, I'm eating. He goes, so, kid, you want to get back to the NHL? I said, yes, I do. He said, well, he goes, how much do you weigh? I said, right now I'm probably around 225, in there. He said, here's the deal. I was actually 223. He said, here's the deal. I'll get you back to the NHL, but he says, you will not play a game for the Utica Devils until you get down to 212. And I sat back, I put my fork and knife down. I go, who's this guy? Is this guy for real? So I was staying at the Howard Johnson's in Utica. Yeah. And I'm like, what am I going to do here? So what I was doing, this is all, it's memory lane for me. I got the trainer to bring me over a bike to the hotel. I would heat up the little bathroom with steam, with hot water, and I would ride. And I dieted. And I lost 10 pounds in record time because this guy was serious. Like, you are not going to play a game until you get down to this weight. Finally, I got down to that weight. My first game with the Utica Devils was with Rochester. But I say this till this day, guys. I had a great mentor and coach. My first pro coach was Larry Plow. But Tom McVie changed Jim Thomson's career. He was the guy that said, you want to get back there? This is how you're going to do it. And obviously I went from New Jersey, signed as a free agent in LA, and the rest is history. And this guy turned my career around and showed me how to be a pro.
That's awesome.
He's certainly a legend in Utica. There's no doubt about it. But how nice was that, though, huh? Invite you to an Italian restaurant where you're going to be nothing but carbs. And oh, by the way, before you play for us, you got to lose 10 pounds. Oh,
Yeah. And I'm ready. I'm hungry because I just traveled and I've got this big thing of food. He's going, and then he goes, this is funny, Tommy. He sits back and he's, very well dressed. He's like, hey, kid, how's your lunch? He starts laughing at me. And anyway, but yeah, that was Utica. Now onto the hockey scene. It was a great hockey town. We had a really good hockey team in Utica. We lost to Rochester in the playoffs. They I think went deep that year, and but I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed wearing those colors. I actually got my Utica Devil tattoo right there, if you can see it.
Wow! Yeah.
Nice. So this is my hockey arm. I got from my junior teams, Binghamton Whalers, all the way up to my NHL teams.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
That was Utica's on me.
So I gotta ask you though, and it's nothing to do with fighting, but have you been back to Utica in the past few years, or?
No, at Utica, you asked?
Yeah, the Utica Odd.
No.
So I don't know if you know it or not, but they've redone it all. It's actually very, very nice now.
Yeah, I heard it's redone. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Because back when you were playing, remember they used to have the silhouette on the walls there?
Yes, I do. Never forget it. Never forget it.
I understood why they had the hockey player one and the rock star one there, because they had the concerts. But they had a basketball player one, and they only had like the Harlem Globetrotters there once a year. And then they had the businessman one. I can never figure that out. Why did they have the guy carrying a suitcase or a briefcase or whatever?
That either.
I remember going from the Broome County Arena to that arena, and it's like, it's the history. I look at Rochester, all those rinks in New York State, and there's just so much character. So many stories that are amazing. I was back to Binghamton a few years ago when Ottawa had their farm team there. I was doing some work with Ottawa, and I went, just reminiscing about how different it was. The dressing room and the lounges, completely different than what we had.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And people don't realize just how much hockey history is right here in New York State.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the unknown hockey history hotbed, really,
Well,
But
I got to tell you this. There was a bar in Binghamton called Funsies, famous for all guys. Yeah. And when you go in there as young kids and you see the broom dusters and, these old players posters around and you go, wow, there's actually history here. Because we had no idea. I grew up in Edmonton and then moved to Toronto to play junior. And now I'm in Binghamton in this, dungy pub. And you just look at all the players, Ogie Oglethorpe, whatever his, I forget his real name. But, there he is with the big afro wearing the broom dusters. And from Slapshot, and you just go, wow, there's a lot of history here.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And you know what? Speaking of all that, I do have to ask you, because I was going to ask you earlier and it kind of slipped my mind. The Italian restaurant that you met Tom McVean, do you remember what the name of it was?
No, but I wish I did. It's funny, it was a restaurant and then it turned into a dance club or a party atmosphere on
Club
Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah, I bet you it was Club Monarch.
Club Monarch.
Probably. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That could be the only. That could be the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, it would be
Italian food and then turn into like a dance club at night.
That's it. Yeah, we would go there on. I think Sunday nights was a big party, and it was sardines in there, but that was the place to go, right?
Club Monarch could be Club Monarch because it wasn't too far away from the Howard Johnson at the time either.
You're right.
Probably.
I'm a sardines. I used to do a lot of dancing in there.
With those old ladies?
Yeah.
Now since the Utica, now the Utica Comets, but the Utica Devils are now back in Utica, if they did like an alumni return, would you be interested in, would you reach out and if they reached out to you, would you be open to coming back to Utica?
Oh, I'd be 100%. I'd be driving there. I love to drive.
That'd be awesome.
I'd come in a second. That stuff to me is
super.
Like seeing Roger Neal on Barry's show. It's just, it brings for a young kid that has no idea what the American Hockey League's about. And I always think of this, my guys that I played junior with, and they end up in Baltimore, and they end up in different places in the American Hockey League. I ended up in Binghamton and Utica.
Right.
And that was my, memory lane. So I'd be back in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
Heartbeat.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
That would be awesome.
And we'll definitely go out to lunch, and we promise we won't make you lose 10 pounds afterwards.
We might be able to still go to Club Monarch too.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it's still there. I think it's still open.
It is.